Cat Tales 26. At first the small gray tabby looked like any other animal abandoned on the doorstep of the St. Charles County Humane Society. It was an unfortunate and too frequent occurrence at the small, no-kill shelter. But this cat presented a special problem. Her swollen belly revealed rippling movement that could mean only one thing: kittens. The shelter was full, so when I arrived for my volunteer shift, Carmen, the shelter's director, asked if I'd foster the cat. But I don't know anything about delivering kittens. Cats have an instinct about these things. She'll know what to do, Carmen said as she balanced an armload of supplies. Don't worry. Unfortunately, if I excelled at anything, it was worry. I gritted my teeth and packed the car with an assortment of kitty necessities, leaving just enough space for the crate. As I loaded it into the car, the cat glared at me from the back corner of the enclosure, where she was crouched, taut with anxiety. Was it my imagination, or did I read the word incompetent in those golden eyes? My anxiety escalated. "All right, Mama Cat, let's go," I said cheerily, hoping to win her over with charm. Our one-sided conversation continued as I drove the slowest and smoothest route. After all, what expectant mother wants to be jostled? I didn't know whether my passenger was impressed or not, as she maintained a sphinx-like stillness and silence the entire ride. At home, it took 3 trips to move everything to the foster room. The food, fresh water, and all-important litter box were arranged in record time. Since cats like hiding places, I found a large cardboard box to use as a bed. An opening cut in front and towel draped over the top created a cozy mini cave. I surveyed my handiwork. Though the feline birthing room had no cable or bedside phone, it looked good. I opened the crate door. Mama Cat stalked out and stretched her bulky body. Then she set off to examine the room like a queen inspecting the royal guard. Not a thing slowed her scrutiny until she reached the bed I'd fashioned for her. With a dubious look, she sniffed it from bottom to top before climbing inside. When her front legs began to rhythmically massage the bedding, I knew I'd passed my first test. Unlike her mother, my 14-year-old daughter, Jessica, had no apprehensions about the tabby. Deep in the throes of a girly adolescence, my youngest child confined her worries to the state of her social life. She couldn't have been more delighted to discover our guest was well on her way to multiplying. "That means when the kittens come we'll be foster grandparents," she announced. Since grandparents tend to be smart people, I waited for the wisdom of the ages to descend and provide me with some guidance. When that didn't happen, I consulted my oracle, the internet, for advice. Neither Jessica nor I could wait for the blessed event, she out of excitement, I out of fear. I checked the room for action a dozen times a day. Whenever the door opened, I hoped to see kittens, a done deal. But Mama Cat was in no apparent hurry for motherhood. She'd simply gaze at me with the cryptic look that only a cat can give. It was unnerving. 1 full week of fruitless anticipation later, Mama Cat was still kittenless and I was a bleary-eyed mess. I figured it would be smart to try and forget my feline worries for a while. As luck would have it, we'd been invited to a family swimming party. I imagined myself lounging at a pool all day, the perfect tonic for jangled nerves. Sure enough, the afternoon of sun and water worked its magic. Even when we got home, I felt boneless as a rag doll. Jessica made a beeline for the phone. I ambled along behind her, reminding myself to look in on Mama Cat before I collapsed. Inside the room, there was no sign of a cat. But I wasn't alarmed, she was probably sleeping. I tiptoed over to the box and took a peek. Nestled deep inside the makeshift bed, I found conclusive proof that Mama Cat was no slacker. My remaining fears evaporated the instant I proclaimed the news. "Jessica, we have kittens." I counted 4 black and gray squirming balls of fur. Each one was meticulously clean. They made little mewing sounds while their tiny paws pushed to scoot them toward their mother. "Good job, Mama Cat," I told her. By golly, Carmen was right. Cats did know what to do. Jessica raced in to see the new arrivals. I suppose it was all the excitement that prompted Mama Cat to stand, and that revealed a 5th kitten. It looked exactly like the others, with one notable exception: mother and baby were still attached by the umbilical cord. I watched in horror as the smoke-colored newborn dangled upside down, crying in protest. Mama cat shot a look my way, her eyes round as beach balls. The message was clear enough. But just how did one go about detaching mother and baby? I knew it was a job that required someone with a cool head. Definitely not me. Jessica, call the emergency clinic. I hoped my manner exuded calm authority rather than the rising panic I felt by the time she handed me the receiver. Within 2 rings I heard a man's voice. Animal emergency clinic. May I help you? A direct connection to God couldn't have been any better. My foster cat had kittens, and one of them is still attached to her by the cord. What should I do? Realizing my voice was about 2 octaves higher than usual, I cleared my throat and waited. The man sounded assured, bored even. No doubt he was accustomed to dealing with hysterical, know-nothing midwives. Is there hemorrhaging? No. Signs of distress? No. If you don't count having a kitten dangling from you as distressful. Then take the cord and pull. ... That didn't sound hard. I cradled the phone between shoulder and ear and with 2 fingers grabbed the membrane, which felt dry and flat as a rubber band. Jessica stared. The motherly part of my brain hoped she wouldn't be too upset by the crisis. On the other end of the phone my savior's voice continued. But don't pull too hard, or you could cause internal damage to the mother. And pull by the cord, not the kitten, or you could jerk out its intestines. At least I think that's what he said. At that point my focus had slipped. I felt clammy beads of moisture gather on my forehead as I gave the first infinitesimal pull. Nothing happened. A deep breath later, I tried again. Still nothing. Mama cat was beginning to look annoyed. This isn't working, I finally croaked into the phone. The man sighed deeply. Bring them to the clinic. The thought of packing up a cat with her 4.5 newborns was daunting. Yet, I supposed letting Mama cat go through life with a dangling kitten was not a good option either. Jessica tapped my arm. Let me try. Before I could warn her of the dire consequences of one wrong move, she reached over and in a single swift tug neatly separated the 2. My stomach churned while I waited for signs of impending doom. Instead, Mama cat serenely settled back into her bed while 4 kittens rooted against her to nurse. Jessica pushed the 5th baby into position beside the others. The voice on the forgotten phone line came back to life. Ma'am? Will you be bringing in the cats? Never mind. We're fine now. And we were. Jessica beamed with pride, and I know my own face mirrored hers. I realized she'd tugged more than one motherly tie that evening. As we watched the peaceful scene together, suddenly my youngest didn't seem quite so young anymore. By focusing on fears of what tomorrow might bring, I'd nearly spoiled the miracle of today. Now, I'm not certain a compulsive worrier ever truly reforms, but thanks to my daughter and a little gray cat, I figured it was time to try. When Mama cat's drowsy gaze found mine, I could swear she nodded in approval. Then her eyes closed, and she began to purr.